Hello, my name is Sean. With me today, we have dog Zilla, and this is Pedals for Paws. The Beverly Bridge was finally set to open barely 2 weeks after Captain had passed. Nearly a year earlier, I had promised her I would get her to the Columbia River, but sadly, I was never able to fulfill that promise, as construction had been pushed back nearly 9 months. Tragically, this would be the closest I would ever get to fulfilling my promise to Captain. Even though I didn't want to be on the bike or anywhere near the trail, I knew I needed to go and to start working on my healing process. And so, Zilla's and my journey continued. The eastern gate at the Yakima Training Center marks the end of an over 650-mile path that we'd traveled together as a pack. As you can see, it's roughly 1 mile shy of where I'd promised to get Captain to at the Columbia River. These first few pedal strokes away from the gate were some of the hardest I'd ever have to take, as the reality began to set in that we were now continuing our journey without her. This was the first time Zilla was alone in the trailer. To try and make the transition easier for both of us, I'd brought along a lifelike pillow of Captain that my sister had sent us. It seemed to provide Zilla a little support, and when I would take a quick glance at the trailer, subconsciously, it felt like she was there with us. It was a small comfort, and I needed all the help I could get. Hundreds of people were on the trail for the bridge's opening ceremony. Normally this would be a fantastic occasion, but of all days, I just wanted to be left alone. As we approached the bridge, we spoke briefly with a man named Rob who had suffered a terrible loss of his own. At the end of our conversation, Rob made a donation to Pedals for Paws in Captain's honor.
For you, do it. The whole point of the website is we're raising money for underprivileged animals. Oh, beautiful. So, beautiful. You have no idea how much. Hey, bless you, buddy. Thank you, sir. You're very welcome. Thank you.
It was the first time we'd ever received an in-person donation. I was awestruck. When we finally made it closer to the bridge, we were met by a crowd of over 600 people. As we tried to make our way through the throngs, we were stopped several times by people asking questions about Pedals for Paws. We were even interviewed by a local newspaper. Having traveled several hundred miles without seeing a single person, it was both surreal and overwhelming, especially since I just wanted to be alone with Zilla. I did my best to speak with everyone, but eventually I couldn't take it any longer and I just needed to get across the bridge and uphold my promise to the dogs. As we began crossing the bridge, everything became a blur.
Now what do I have to worry about? Last time it was the blinkers on the trailer were ass backwards.
I was an emotional wreck and having difficulty breathing. By crossing onto the bridge, I was simultaneously making good on my promise to Zilla and breaking my promise to Captain. There are few feelings worse than letting down a loved one, and I had failed miserably. After what seemed like an eternity, we finally made it across the bridge. There, we rejoined the spot where we'd had to leapfrog to at the start of our blog post, The Gap. I wiped my tears and faked a smile for a quick photo. At that moment, a huge gust of wind knocked over the bike so violently that it broke the piece that connects to the trailer. The symbolism of the moment didn't escape me, as the bike and trailer now broke at the same spot where Captain's loss would break our team. It was perfectly fitting. Zilla and I slowly made our way back across the bridge. As we were crossing, I received an unexpected phone call from the vet. Captain's cremated remains were ready, and they would be dropping her off at the house. Wanting nothing more than to be reunited with my sweet girl, we raced home to reclaim her mortal remains. But the importance and gravity of the day were still ever present in my mind, so I made sure to take a moment to reflect on what this journey had meant to me so far and how important it was to carry on with Zilla in Captain's name, continuing to help the animals of the world, no matter how hard things might get down the road.
Hello, my name is Sean. With me today is Dogzilla. And this is Pedals4Paws.
After returning home to get Captain's ashes, Zilla and I decided to take a day off before returning to the Beverly Bridge. Even though we had just completed this segment, I decided to redo it now that we'd been reunited with Captain's remains. This would be the closest we could now come to completing the trail as a pack, and I was not going to waste the opportunity. The bridge was much less crowded than it had been during the opening ceremony, which was perfect because Zilla and I had some personal business to attend to. It was important to me that some of Captain's ashes be spread in places that were significant during her life.
Zilla, you want to smell your sister?
Pig? Your daddy loves you very much. I took comfort in knowing that some of her ashes would eventually float all the way down the Columbia River out to the Pacific Ocean, and she would be free to explore the rest of the world.
She's gone, Zilla.
After spreading Captain's ashes, Dogzilla and I continued to the other side of the Beverly Bridge to ensure that Captain's journey would be complete. We then turned around to head back to the car, as we had something very important still to take care of that day. It was not going to be easy. A few hours later, we found ourselves back on the trail east of Lind. This was the spot where the bike had fallen over and broken free from the trailer. It also represented the last spot that the three of us would be together.
You ready to see your sister?
Captain's memorial, I brought along a couple things she enjoyed in life. Flowers because she loved to play in wildflowers, rolling around and sniffing them, and a peanut butter sandwich because when I first found her as a stray 12 years earlier, it took 4 days to lure her into the car, and what finally won her over was a peanut butter sandwich. Bringing a peanut butter sandwich today was my way of letting her know that I would spend the rest of eternity searching for her again.
Nice, Zilla. We're gonna set part of her free, okay? We're gonna set some of you free, pig. We're gonna set some of you free, Miss Pig. This is... Go free, sweet pig. I'm gonna bury this part of you here, okay? And some of my hair too. We're gonna always be together. Captain. I don't even know what to say, pig. Thank you for the 12 best years of my life. Thank you for so many snuggles and adventures, and kisses, and tail wags and woos. Thank you for protecting your naughty little brother. No matter what, pig, you're always with me, okay? No matter what, you're always a part of this team. I promise I will try and do the best I can for the rest of my life in your spirit. Are there any puppies out here who want a sandwich? Are there any puppies who want a sandwich? Pig, this is for you, sweet girl. If you want to come back to me, you can, okay? At any time. This isn't just a today offer, this is forever. Come back to me in any form you want, okay, sweet girl?
And then it happened. Zilla decided to try and lighten the mood of this somber moment by literally peeing on his sister's memorial. The levity of this act caused me to do a complete 180 from one of the saddest moments of my life to laughing harder than I'd ever laughed before. I don't know what I would do without him.
Oh, Zilla, I needed that. Oh, you're too funny.
I constructed a stone heart as a more permanent memorial to Captain, making sure to point the heart in the direction that Zilla and I were heading in case she chose to follow us. Though our paths were about to diverge, I would always carry Captain with me. And then the moment I'd been dreading, moving forward without Captain by my side.
Till we meet again, sweet pig.
As we rode away down the rocky trail, an obvious, easier path emerged with no logical explanation. I knew then that even though she was gone, Captain was out there somewhere, keeping an eye on us.
Hello, my name is Sean. With me today is Dogzilla, and this is Pedals for Paws.
Ready? Let's do it, bud.
Riding away from Captain's on-trail memorial was way harder than I had expected. It had nothing to do with the difficulty of the trail, but everything to do with closing such a significant chapter of my life. It took all of my willpower to keep from quitting the journey. After this shot, I couldn't bring myself to pick up the camera again for nearly a week. Thankfully, I still had the strength to take photos of our journey, so our adventure wasn't completely lost. Our path continued east out of Lind towards the little rail stop of Ralston. Along the way, my kickstand rattled loose and kept getting stuck in my pedals, but luckily I was able to find a piece of balloon ribbon along the side of the trail and use it to tie off the kickstand. While in Ralston, I noticed that the winds were picking up, the temperatures were dropping, and that the storm clouds in the distance didn't look like they were dropping rain. Even Zilla could tell something bad was coming. By the next morning, several inches of snow had fallen, effectively trapping us in our hotel. By the second day, the snow had melted enough that we were able to get back out on the road and continue our journey. Though the temperatures were close to freezing, I knew we had to keep going or risk me giving in to grief, losing my motivation, and abandoning our journey altogether. The temperatures continued to drop during the day, and I began to worry I'd made a mistake by carrying on. But just then, the sun broke through the clouds and warmed us up enough to get us back to safety. By the following day, a warm front had moved in, melting all of the snow, though the sudden temperature change had been ushered in by sustained winds of 25 miles an hour or more, which we'd have to battle with the entire day. The high point of the day was exactly that, a large hill climb. After descending the hill, we rejoined the gravel trail and hit the worst sections yet. In my fragile state, it was completely demoralizing. I didn't know how much longer I could handle the continued grief of Captain's loss, coupled with the physically punishing trail. The following day, I regained my motivation and started filming again. Though the temperatures had dropped again to near freezing, there was a 0% chance of precipitation in the forecast, so the day looked promising. But the air didn't feel right. It felt much colder than expected, so I let Zilla out of the trailer to help keep his body temperature up. It was going to be a big day. We were going to reach the Columbia Plateau Trail, which is one of the few landmarks along the trail in eastern Washington.
What do you think, Zilla? Is this cowgate gonna work?
Along the way, we passed a curious herd of cows who chased us along their fence line, trying to figure out what we were doing in their pasture.
They want to be your friends, Zilla. They would all come out if they could. What do you think? Is it snowing on us too? Yeah. So tough to see, but right as we're approaching the Columbia Plateau Trail, it started to hail. And you can see the size, you know, pretty decent size, pea gravel. And then there's the bridge. So, kind of like we're getting some confetti to celebrate getting to the bridge. Right, Zilla? Yeah.
A few moments later, the confetti hail intensified. Considering there had been a 0% chance of precipitation in the forecast, it was quite odd. It was as if Captain knew we were about to hit a major landmark, and she had wanted to do something special to help join in the celebration. After crossing under the bridge, we stopped for a team photo to commemorate the affair. When the picture was taken, a white apparition appeared over my shoulder, as if Captain had wanted to join the photo as more than her usual pillowed self. I had felt her presence all around since the beginning of the hail, and the power of this moment was intense, and it was incredible to have her with us for one last celebration. Zilla and I continued onward, and the trail became absolutely vicious. Even though we were going downhill, there were several miles where I couldn't do anything other than push the bike. Recording became almost impossible as well, as the camera mounts couldn't stay in place. The temperatures grew colder, and the hail got worse. This was easily the low point of the entire journey. If Zilla hadn't have been there, I don't know what I would have done.
So Zilla, what do you think of this hail, huh? Is your hail annoying? Hi, buddy. You a good boy? You a good sport? Yeah. I'm sorry this hail is here. At least it's not hurty. It's very light hail. Yeah. We'll be okay, bud. I promise. Daddy loves you. You're a good boy.
Then, finally, after 10 of the hardest days of my life, we were within sight of the granary at Revere. This signified the end of the worst parts of the Police to Cascades trail. From here out, things should start to get a little easier.
Hello, my name is Sean. With me today is dog Zilla, and this is Pedals for Paws.
What do you think, Zilla? Are they talking to you? Dogzilla and I had survived the hardest parts of the Palouse to Cascades Trail, but our adventure was still far from over. We now found ourselves back on a well-maintained gravel road, but just because it was a road didn't mean that there was going to be any traffic, any people, or much of anything, to be honest. These are our favorite types of roads. Zilla gets to roam free next to the bike, and I don't have to worry about there being any issues with oncoming traffic. It's really the best of all worlds. A short distance later, we got up close and personal with something we hadn't seen in quite some time. Water. Rock Creek was the largest body of water we had encountered in nearly 150 miles since the Columbia River, so we stopped for a few minutes to enjoy before entering the Palouse. The best way to describe the Palouse is if the perfect hills that you drew as a child growing up came to life and were real. That's how incredible they really are. Even though we'd only been here for a few minutes, I could already tell that this was going to be one of our favorite parts of the entire trail. We also started to encounter some wildlife again, like this beetle and a badger that we unfortunately weren't able to catch on camera. We also found a couple of local dogs who didn't want us hanging around any longer than necessary. And that was fine with Zilla because he just wanted to get back on the road. Not only does Zilla love racing downhill, but he also loves to stand up as tall as possible so that he can get all of the best sights and sniffs. Seeing Zilla this happy just reaffirms that bike touring with the dogs is one of the best adventures we ever could have possibly gone on. I just wish Captain could have enjoyed some of these hills as well. And then Dogzilla had a run-in with one of the locals.
You make a new friend on the trail? Yeah. We don't know his name though. He doesn't have a tag on his collar. Or she doesn't. Hi, sweet girlie. Zilla getting pet. Say goodbye to your friend. Bye, friend.
And as quickly as she came, she was gone. Once again, we had this 15-mile stretch of dirt road entirely to ourselves and never once ran into a car. bottom of the hill, a smile started to cross my face as Zilla and I could both see something special off in the distance. Trees. Zilla and I stopped for a minute to walk around, as this was the closest thing we had seen to a forest in nearly 200 miles. Having secured Zilla in the trailer, we got back on the bike and headed towards our goal of Pine City and Malden. Back on smooth pavement, Zilla and I were able to make up for some lost time. As we got closer to Pine City, we weren't really sure what to expect. A year or two earlier, a massive forest fire had come through and destroyed somewhere between 80 and 90% of the buildings in the town, so we were expecting there to probably be a lot of devastation. As we got closer to town, I decided to stop filming as I didn't want to turn the town's tragedy into a spectacle. The area of town that we rode through didn't have any signs of the devastation, so they'd either been quick to rebuild or the fires had struck elsewhere. Either way, we were happy to not see anybody suffering. We then continued on to Malden.
Hey, Zilla. Hey, baby, where are we? Where are we, Zilla?
The trail ran far enough outside of town that we didn't see any of the fire's devastation here either. This allowed us to focus on the beauty and sounds of Pine Creek. Zilla and I took a number of breaks to soak up the scenery. During one such break, an owl flew overhead. It was about this time that I realized we were less than 35 miles from Idaho. This leg of our journey was almost over, but there was still a lot more adventure to come.
Hello, my name is Sean. With me today is Dogzilla, and this is a special edition of Pedals for Paws.
found ourselves outside of Rosalia, just 20 miles from the Idaho border. There was still a lot of pedaling to do, but the end was in sight. Though the trail was still pretty bumpy, it was much better than we'd seen before. Besides, the interesting landscapes of the pullouse were a welcome distraction. Another good distraction? Lunch.
That's a big piece of bacon. Yeah.
But things were about to get a little more interesting.
What's going on, Zilla? Are we getting hailed on again? Are we getting hailed on again?
The funny thing was, a few moments earlier I'd mentioned the time that Zill had peed on Captain's memorial stones, and then, right on cue, the confetti hail started, and it was as if Captain was trying to get back at Zilla. It was quite amusing.
Are we getting hailed on, buddy?
This was only the second time that we'd experienced confetti hail, with the other being when we'd crossed under the Columbia Plateau Trail. It was becoming apparent that Captain was choosing to come back to me in the form of confetti hail, and I really liked the thought of that.
We getting hailed on, Zilla? Yeah. This sucks. Oh, Zilla, we're getting hailed on. Yeah.
You want to go hide in the cart? You want to go back in the cart where it's safe? Let's go.
About a week earlier, my friend Jacob had stayed at my house for a few days before heading off on his own cycling adventure from Canada to Mexico. Incredibly, nearly 500 miles from my house, we ran into each other again along the trail.
Hello, traveler.
Hey there.
What news do you bring from the west?
Watch out for that dip right there. It's
Yeah,
steep.
looks steep to me. So,
Hey.
good ride so far?
Yeah, it's been nice.
Jacob and I had texted each other a few times the previous day, so I knew he was going to be in the area, and assuming that we might bump into each other, I brought him a little treat: tacos and Gatorade. Based on the look on his face, I think Jacob was quite happy with his delicious surprise. Then after a few more minutes catching up, we said our goodbyes and parted
Yeah,
ways.
definitely.
Yeah.
Hello, Zilla. Are you having fun? Are you ready to get wet? Yeah, we're about to get nailed by a storm, huh?
Yeah. You can see it's really dark and stormy behind us. Clouds are moving much faster than we are. Over this direction. We're super close to Idaho. It's just on the other side of that mountain. And the trail heads into another storm, though not quite as bad looking. So no matter what we do, it looks like we're about to get nailed. So we'll just make the most of it and have fun. Nothing else we can do. Found a little protected spot to wait out the storm as it rolls in. So we'll see what happens. There's been some thunder and lightning, not a lot, but a couple lightning bolts and some low thunder in the distance. Still might miss us, but a cold wind is hitting right now, so I think it's definitely headed this way.
Once the storm had passed, we made our way to the last bridge in Washington, the Tico Trestle. Until a few weeks earlier, the Tico Trestle had been closed for a number of decades. It now provides a vital link along the Palouse to Cascades and Great American Rail Trails. Nearly 1,000 feet in length, the trestle crosses 115 feet above Hangman Creek. Less than 5 miles from the border, Zilla found a nice puddle to splash in.
You splashing in the mud?
We had no way to know, but this was only the beginning. As the conditions deteriorated, I put Zilla back into his trailer so that he could enjoy the mud from relative safety. The trail had saved some of its hardest miles till the very end. If we were going to make it to Idaho, we were going to have to earn it. The puddles were so deep that they reached my knees, and the mud was so thick that I nearly lost my shoes.
We getting muddy out here, Zilla? We getting super muddy? Yeah.
I've wiped a lot of it off to try and keep it so that we can keep moving, because it's getting in the brakes and in the fork. You can see it smeared all over poor Captain's face.
Sorry, sweet pig.
And all over, like I said, on the fork and in the brakes. It's all good type 2 fun. That's what it's all about, right? And we're probably 4 miles from Idaho at this point, and all is well. Having a good time despite all the mud. Got Washington over here. And then those trees you see in the distance and the mountains, that's all over in Idaho. We're probably less than a mile from the border to the east, but we have to go about 3 miles to the north still. So we're getting close, but we're not quite there yet. But still having fun. Good day. So we are about 2 miles from the Idaho border, and we just saw a moose. It was really cool. Heard him crash through the woods, turned to the side, and there actually she was. It didn't have a rack, so it was probably a female. Looked younger. Couldn't get any pictures because she was gone almost as soon as we saw her. But it was kind of a moving experience because at the end of her life, she started moving like a moose. She was, really slow and just awkward. And that was one of the reasons why I made that video of her for Northern Pig Exposure, where I replaced the moose from the video with her. And so to be this close to the end of the trail and to have a moose show up, first one of the whole trip, that was pretty significant to me. So just wanted to share.
Overcome with a variety of emotions about being so close to the end of this part of our journey, I decided to sit down with Zilla for a few moments and reflect on everything that we'd been through together.
Had a long adventure, huh? You've always been a part of my best adventures, Zilla. Just want to thank you, huh? Yeah. For being such a good buddy. Number 1 buddy in the buddy system, Zilla. That's you. You're the number 1 buddy. Hi.
Hello. You're so sweet. You're so sweet. Yeah.
I'm gonna miss these days, Zilla. My tiny toes. Tiny taco toes. You're a good boy. Alright, where are you going? You should probably get a move on.
For the final miles of our journey, I put Captain in a position of honor at the front of my bike. It was wonderful seeing her face staring back at me again. And then,
End of the Washington DNR Milwaukee Road corridor. That road is Idaho Road. Everything beyond it is Idaho.
and just like that, we crossed into Idaho. But the adventure didn't stop there. We were just getting started.